No one is you, and that is your superpower. So I think the first question to ask yourself is whether your community is asking questions. Start having the conversation with your community, with the people
Mhm.
around you, and just see if it's a conversation worth having more of.
Everyone says starting a podcast is a next level move, but here's the hard truth. A podcast will not create community if there's no engagement to begin with. Podcasting is an art and you have to do your homework. You have to know what to talk about, the right podcast format, the right tools, and how to engage your audience. Today, we're going to be talking about how to know if your community is actually ready for a podcast and what needs to be in place before you launch.
Our guest today is Kara Infante. She built an amazing niche book lovers community through podcasting. Kara is joining us to drop all the things about how you can successfully add podcasting to your business model and help your own business build its niche community.
Hello, my friend.
Hello. It's
I'm super excited for today's. I'm always excited for every episode. Every guest, I think, is such a treasure.
Kara's bit special because we know her
She
and love
is.
her.
Yes.
We attended
Yes.
a workshop she did about podcasting. So she's the real deal, awesome,
Yeah.
knows her stuff.
Yeah. No, like when we did attend the workshop, and when you like look around and you're like people nodding, agreeing with what she's saying, and then even asking questions. To me, I'm like, yeah, that is a sign that this is a place that people want to do. And then the right teacher is sharing the right information because we're podcasters. So everything she's saying, I was like, she is so smart. I like am so glad I'm sitting next to her. I guess without further ado, let's just bring her on. Let's just stop talking about her, but let's show everybody about her.
Kara, come and join us.
Woo woo! Hi. Let me go attach my head back to my body. Thank you.
You're fantastic. And we're so excited that you said yes to joining our podcast. And look, fellow podcasters all sitting here today, Kara.
Yeah, we could have just a little fireside chat about podcasting.
Yeah.
here today.
No, exactly. Thank you. Look, she just reminded me that I have my microphone way over there, like way on the other side of my room. So who knows what my voice sounds like
We got you.
before we started. So thanks, Kara. Okay, look, before we get started, we always love to do a selfie with our guests. And you can do any pose you want. I'll hold the book up, whatever you want to do in your pose, Kara. This is all about you. I will give you a second because it looks like you're
Like I don't have a book. I gotta grab it off the thing. Hold on.
No, she's like, wait. She's let me do it.
Mine today.
Oh yeah, I'm digging it. I know.
There's so much pressure about what book to grab for me, but this is fun. So.
I feel like I wish I had a book to grab, and I don't.
I know. Wait, now I feel like we all should grab a book, guys.
We'll do another picture later.
Yeah.
You
don't have to use the book. Or I'll do.
No, you do your book though. You do whatever you want. But okay, I'm just gonna hold up my coffee because that's all.
I'm gonna
okay. All right, on 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there we go. All right, our imaginary cameraman snapped the picture. Who knows where you'll see it? Okay, Kara, welcome to the show. Anna is going to start with our focus question. And are you ready?
I am.
Yeah.
So, Kara, we have you on here talking about podcasting. So, how does a small business owner know if their community is actually ready for a podcast?
So I think the first question to ask yourself is whether your community is asking questions. Are they engaging with you? Are they DMing you on the side and wanting to know more? And are you spending a lot of time answering those type of questions? Because the beauty of podcasting is it gives you long form content. So it allows you to have these longer conversations that maybe a simple social media post, even though we have carousels and we have all different reels and all different types of posts you can do. Podcasting really gives you a chance to meet, to interact with one another, and to get to know people in a different way.
I love that you said that. Can I just tell you, the first time that I showed like podcasts, like we were driving in the car, my daughter was like in 8th grade and she was like, "Are you famous? You're like on the car thing." Because I had mine and Anna's face was just bloop right there. And she looked to her friends. She's like, "They're so famous. They're on the car." You know what I mean? Yeah. I love that you said that because you're right. Oh my gosh. Anna, you're famous. Wait, you're muted though.
Oh, that's never my problem. That's always what Selena does. This time around, here I go and not
Yeah.
unmuting
Yeah.
myself. No, I really liked what you had to say, Kara, because it's really about what is your audience asking for,
Yeah.
right? And I think sometimes small business owners fall into this trap of I have to have a podcast because everybody has a podcast. But if your community or your audience or your clientele isn't asking for it, that's not maybe necessarily the right move for you. So would you say though, let's say there's somebody that's, but I really want to do this because it sounds exciting and fun to me and it's an added opportunity for me, I think in the long run. Are there things that a business owner should be like putting into place to prepare their audience for a podcast? Ways that they can like prime the pump, I guess you might say.
Oh, that is a really great question. So I have to say, with a little bit of an aside, I did not start with a community. I actually did this the opposite way. I built a podcast that then built a community. But if you're smarter than I am, you have a business that is already established and you can view the podcast as like top of funnel to start bringing people into your business. So I think maybe if you're realizing maybe you want to educate your audience a bit more, there's more of the story that you want to tell. These things that are a bit more nuanced that you just cannot bring across in your traditional ways that you're promoting or marketing your business. I think that podcasting allows you to do that. If you want to bring in experts that maybe help enhance your business and have these conversations and provide those kind of educational interviews to your audience, I think just starting to maybe navigate or asking them the questions about what do they want to know more? What do they want to know more in your business? And figuring that out would be a great place to prime the pump or start, if you will.
I really love that
Yeah.
answer
Yeah.
because
No, it's
that's where it's gonna those are the people that are gonna show up. So
yeah. I think it's smart. I look, we didn't even give this question to Kara. So I just want to know though, like, how did you know like your podcast, right, is focused on tell everybody first what your podcast is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I host the podcast called Bookish Flights, and it is simply a place where we tell our stories through our favorite books. But in saying that, if you've been around readers, you know that we can fire hose you with book recommendations a little bit. So I've built this around a book flight, which is essentially 3 book recommendations that come in the form of being paired by genre, theme, or topic. So it keeps us under control a little bit.
Yeah. No, I love. So how did you? So like somebody that is starting, and this is a community question too. How did you even come to create this format? How did you develop it? How did you know, hey, this could possibly build a community?
Yeah, I have to give you a bit of background as military spouses, you will understand this. My husband was on a 7-month deployment in 2020, and I had a 3-month-old, a 2-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And as you all know, it is just survival at that point. But my brain knew I needed something to dream about. And so I started dreaming about this idea. I had been a podcast listener for a few years at that point, but what if I started a podcast? And it was just that little bit of hope or glimmer that there was something on the other end of this 7-month deployment that really helped my mental sanity because then I started dreaming. I started making goals. I started having these things to focus on versus how hard it was just to survive each day of that deployment. And so the question I asked myself, and this could be if you're like, I don't have a community, if you're like me, was what do people call me about? And I am a physical therapist by trade. So I am definitely an injury line, but I thought I would get bored after 15 episodes. I'm like, I don't know what else I would talk about after that. So I'm like, the other thing people call me about is books because I'd always been a reader. And so that I just took that idea and ran with it.
You built a fairly successful your community is quite large, and you have a lot of listeners and a lot of people that come, and as a fellow book lover, I love the idea of Bookish Flights because it can get overwhelming, right? There's
Yeah.
so many good books coming out every year, and it's, which ones do I start with? I can't read 700 books in 1 year, right?
Ah,
And so I do love the format of your podcast. So tell us a little bit about your mindset and like deciding like this is what's going to work. Or did you have to test things out? Did you have something different that you tried and it bombed and then you're like, "Whoop, let's try this a different way." Tell us that like story of the journey of Bookish Flights?
Yeah, so I started with the book flight and that has stayed the same. But what I started with was actually to your point of I want to explore different genres. Like I always say I'm not a fantasy reader, but how can I say that if I don't read that book? So I just started asking friends and neighbors that I knew were these types of readers because of course as bookish people we find one another, right? Because we inevitably end up talking about books. And so I just started with come recommend me 3 fantasy books and I'll see if I like fantasy and turns out I love it. So I just needed to know like you said navigating hundreds of books, thousands of books that are out there on the shelves, where was a good place to start? Obviously, we are at episode 201 this week. There probably is 201 subgenres, but we have gotten much more nuanced, to use what I was saying earlier, in this week or last week's was like spiritual books. We've done women in history. It's gotten much more nuanced and people have been really creative. And I love letting the guest do that because I think we can learn so much about the guest as well. So I think knowing where you want to take the conversation, which changes over time, that I definitely have themes that I hit on, but having a structure of show is a really smart move for you and just knowing about the length of the episodes. Where do you want this conversation to end up? How do you have the questions ready to get your conversation to go that way? And I will say I think that was one huge benefit to being a physical therapist is I was interviewing patients in the clinic all day every day. I had to know what was their problem, what are they trying to do, what was their history and treat them all within 45 minutes. And my that part of my brain worked very well when I changed to podcasting, but just setting yourself up for success and thinking about that ahead of time, your structure, your format, where you want to go, and then just running that through the mill multiple times and see if it works for you and for your audience.
I really want to just say what I loved the most of what you just said was like allowing your guests to share their thoughts, their books, like whichever, but and it allowing the conversation to develop and evolve and it turns you're not trying to control the conversation and limit how they're saying things. So then your audience now learns something new and that can
Yeah.
apply in any industry, right? Of a business person that maybe wants to have a podcast is if you're inviting them on, I hope that you allow them to really be who they are. So it allows the audience to learn something more versus it just being this silliness show. And this is one person I brought on, but it doesn't matter in my eloquent way of saying things, Anna.
Yeah, I think that so I teach a class, it's called Pitch Perfect, where I
Mhm,
teach people how to pitch podcasts. And
mhm,
that is one of my things. A lot of times I teach this to authors and writers groups because they're trying to market their books, but you are more than your book or you are more than
mhm,
your business and you're so much more than that. And so I think to your point of just like thinking outside the box, like you can't put someone into that one thing because we're so much
mhm.
more than that.
Yeah.
And allowing your guests to show that. And I think that's where then if you're like on marketing what you do, people learn to trust you because they learn a bit about you and your story, not just, oh, there's so and so behind this book or whatever.
Yeah. No.
I think also what you're doing there too is you're allowing yourself to figure out if you're trying to build a podcast and you want to have a purpose behind it in the sense of, hey, this is going to promote my business, or it can, the purpose can be, I just like doing this and it's a lot of fun and I don't care if
Right.
anyone shows up or not. I want to
Yeah.
hear myself talk for a while and I find it interesting. That can be the purpose.
Right.
But I think that if you're really trying to build something that's substantial or that helps support your other business goals and dreams, right? This is a really beautiful way of figuring out truly what your community wants. You think about the different styles of podcasts out there, the really long form that are an hour program versus
Yeah.
the 30-minute ones versus the 15-minute ones, or like ours, the 15-ish minute ones. They're really run across the entire spectrum. But you've also got these like mini snippets of 5-minute, like tiny little daily thoughts.
Golden nugget tips,
Yes,
right?
exactly. And I think it comes down to there's so many pieces of you hear about a lot of podcasts that start, but then they fizzle. And it's because you try to do something, one that's not within your capacity, but
Mhm.
also your community doesn't want it. And now you find
Yeah.
yourself spending a lot of time and a lot of energy investing in the right tools, all that kind of stuff. And then it goes nowhere. And that can, I think, be really frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
That's actually a great point. And to your point of something that failed is when I made my business plan before this started, I had thought I was going to do 2 I can't remember if I was gonna do weekly cadence or twice a month for the podcast, and I thought, "Oh, and then I'll write 2 blog posts a month," because as you heard me say, I had lots of little kids in the house, and I thought, "Oh, I'm not gonna be able to find quiet time for conversation. I'll be able to write, though, whenever I want."
Right.
Turns out I love talking to people way more than I do writing, and so I maybe do 1 blog post every 2 months, and I still do a podcast weekly. So, you will find what you enjoy, what works for you,
Yeah.
and also what topics you like digging into. I feel like I steer the conversation because I am a military spouse. I love knowing that we can reinvent ourselves no matter where we
Yeah.
are. And so if I
Yeah.
find out someone has changed a job, I'm like, "Oh, okay, tell me about what skills you had at A job that
Yeah.
translated to B job."
Right.
And because that is so helpful for us all to know we're not stuck being what we thought we were gonna be at 18
Mhm.
or
Yeah. No.
down the line.
Okay. My last question would no, not last question. You like Anna was mentioning, you do have a big following, especially on Instagram. Would you say like your community there has given you food for fodder that has grown like where you brought it into your podcast?
Yeah, I use it a couple ways. When I find something that works with people, of course, I try to replicate that same format and just do
Yeah.
different material. So I
Yeah.
stick with that. But the other thing is when people are commenting on my posts, I take note. Like I've done some solo episodes, which was never in thought was going to be in my wheelhouse, but on our audiobooks really reading mental health benefits
Mhm.
of reading. When I start seeing some common themes pop up and I'm like, who's to say that I can't go do a little solo episode and let's dig in. Again, back to being a physical therapist, I'm super nerdy about stats and research study. And that is
Love
just
that.
probably was trained into my brain, but that's the stuff I nerd out on. But it's
Yeah.
also related to reading. So I then will do things on that because of the interest I saw there.
And honestly, let's just be honest. Your audience loves your nerdiness. They love
Yeah.
knowing the stat. This
Yeah.
is part of the reason they trust you, right? Because you're
Right.
throwing out numbers, you're throwing out data, you're speaking from a point of expertise. And I think that's another big key if you are starting a podcast. Like, if nobody knows who you are, if you've never established yourself in a certain area, like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm still going to say follow your dream, try it out. You never know what's going to
Yeah.
happen, right?
Right.
But when we talked in the intro, we talked a little bit about you got to do your homework. You have to prep and set the path and create a
Yeah.
foundation that's going to allow your podcast to be what you truly want it to be. So I do love the idea that you know these stats and you're interested in these topics. And if your audience is asking about it, that you're willing to do the extra work to learn more about those topics and then bring it to them. I think that's
Yeah.
a key part of being a fantastic podcast host. So well
Yeah.
done, Kara. Well
Oh,
Well
done.
thank
done,
you.
Kara.
Yeah.
And I
And
was
well
going to
said,
add
Anna.
that you don't want to reinvent the wheel too much, right? So you don't want to
Mhm.
have to spend hours researching every episode. Most of us don't
Yeah.
have the bandwidth to do this. So I think that question of asking yourself, like, what do people call me about? What am I passionate about? People in your circle
Yeah.
know that. And I think that can be a really good place to start because then you're not going to be spending so much legwork on the behind the scenes to
Yeah.
prep for that.
Oh, I love that. You made me think of so we had a previous guest. She owns a marketing company in Austin, and one of her clients, like when you want to talk about niche and like you said, not reinventing the wheel. One of their clients was it's a local bank in Austin, and they started a podcast in their lobby floor, and the CEO would interview their customers that were business owners that wanted to have some visibility. And do you know what I mean? Like you can't get
Yeah.
really more niche than that, but just knowing who your community could be and the guests that come on and you just made me think of there was something you said that triggered that memory. And I told Anna, I was like, that is so fascinating because you're right. If you have a thought and think this bank CEO probably gets a ton of calls about you're right. How do you run a business? How do you bring banking in? And people will listen. I don't know. It was
And
just
make it
crazy.
interesting, right? Because
Yes.
I look at the world of banking, I'm like, I don't know a shred of shred about that. And I'm like, I don't know that I would,
Yes.
but that sounds really interesting that he's interviewing the business owners, right? Like I would want to know
Right?
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was, but it makes, like you said, when we bring podcasting back to business, right? And how it could work in your business. That's so smart is people are like, wait, I'm listening to a podcast of business owners hosted by a bank CEO. Not saying that they're the most boring people, sometimes finance people, because you don't understand it. But
Yeah.
and
Well,
should
they're
not,
doing what they know.
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
They're doing what they know, and
Yeah.
somebody out there wants to know that
Yes.
thing that they're
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about. And I
Yeah.
think that's it, right? Like your podcast isn't going to be for everyone. Now, your
No,
podcast might be for everybody, Kara,
I
because
know.
everybody should be reading fabulous books.
They
That's
should be. Not even fabulous. As long as they're reading. Look, that's the
Yeah.
first step, Anna. Then we move them up to fabulous books because it's sad to me when people say they don't like to read.
I
Yeah.
just think they haven't
Um,
found the right book yet. That is on, I honestly
there you
believe
go.
that.
Yes.
They haven't, that's your t-shirt. That's her. They haven't found the right book.
Haven't found the right book yet. Every guest gets a t-shirt. That gets to be yours today, Kara.
Yeah. Yeah.
You haven't found the
Yeah.
right book yet. Bookish
There
Flights.
you go. Marketing. Here we go. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Look,
Working on the
okay.
side.
Anna, should we move into our next segment here?
Yes, we
And
are
are we ready?
Let's try. We're gonna do this
Yeah.
fancy little fun intro. 1, 2, 3, go, Selena.
I mean, do a little jingle there, Kara, and that gets us all set up and ready.
Yes, our favorite part of the show
yeah,
where we get
yeah.
to do keep, ditch, try. Kara,
Yes.
are you ready for this
I am.
fire off round? Okay, I'm gonna start us off.
Yeah.
If there was one thing that you would tell our listening audience, if you're doing this, keep doing it. What is that one thing you would say?
Yeah. So my favorite saying is no one is you, and that is your superpower. And so I'm going to go with keep being you. The world needs more of you, and no one knows you better than you. And so that is what builds trust and long-term
Mm.
community in your business.
Kara,
You
you just
guys-
earned yourself a second t-shirt. I'm sorry, but
Yes.
Gold star for today.
Yes. And she's gonna make sure there's a mic drop, like image next to your saying like that. Yeah. No, and it's so true because sometimes we feel like we have to pretend to be somebody else that we think people will like better. And I want to find out they would have liked you anyway.
yeah.
And I think the other part, like being 4 years of podcasting, in the
Yeah.
beginning, I thought I had to be like something polished and all these things. And I could show you the alphabet soup after my name as a physical therapist, but I had zero when it came to the world of books and reading. But I think the moment that I stepped back into this is me and that is okay, and let go what I
Mhm.
thought it should be, the business flowed that much easier. The resistance was then
Yeah.
gone.
I love that because
Yeah.
I do think sometimes we try to come off on a public front in a way that's more, I don't want to say less authentic because I don't think we're consciously doing it sometimes. Right? You
Yeah.
want to put your best foot forward. And I just can imagine 4 years in, if you're trying to do this high level, this, that, or the other, and you're not being who you authentically are, it would be
Mm.
exhausting and probably unsustainable on some
Yeah.
level.
You'd burn
So
out. I think
Yeah.
you
Oh,
could
gosh.
be out.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, let's move over to something that people looking into creating podcasts. What should they ditch? What's something you would tell somebody that would call you and ask you about podcasts?
Yeah. So I would tell them to ditch like feeling like you need to be everywhere, because there's a lot of information out there that you need to be on every single platform and all the things. And you guys could probably speak more to this, but find where you like to be, because social media is meant to be social. And so you're going to have to spend time there to grow an audience there. So find one or two platforms that work for you and stick with that.
What you just said became a third freaking t-shirt, Kara. Social media
Man.
is meant to be social. I don't know why that just light bulbed in my head. And I'm like, if you hate being there, don't be there. If
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
meant to be social, why are you on it? If you hate having to converse on that area, what the heck
Yeah.
are you doing? I know that, but the way you just said that really it really hit.
Yay.
She's like, remember that time Kara said, I'm not doing this anymore.
I seriously,
know?
I'm sorry, but I'm stealing that, and you're going to see that in one of my
I love
Disney
it.
posts later on. I will
I
put your
probably heard
name
it
and
somewhere.
quoted it. Everybody
Oh
else
my
will be
gosh.
like, "Of course, Anna, we already knew that," and I'm going to be like, "Listen, this was
No,
a
you
light bulb
didn't.
A lot
moment
of us
for me."
initially
Yeah.
think you could just post and go, right? But if you want
Yeah.
to build something and get the engagement and all of that, you've got to
Mhm.
spend time there as well.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, you're absolutely right. Building the community. We're talking about community today. And if you're just posting and ghosting, like they said, like you
Yeah.
said, you're not building a community. Yes. Okay. We
Well,
could talk
I'm just
for
going to
some-
say one more thing about that, though, right?
Yeah.
If you're ghosting and you're not building the community, do you really want a podcast? Do you really want what you're trying to do right there? It's like a reevaluation moment, also.
Yeah.
Mm,
Okay. All right. Last one.
Yeah.
Kara, you're on the hot seat. If our listening audience out there and you're like, listen, there's one thing I want you to try this week or this month. I want you to try this thing and see where it goes for you. What would you tell them to do?
Yeah. So I am actually going to give you a social media platform, but I'm going to choose Threads. So if you haven't been out there yet, Threads is attached to Instagram. And I was telling Selena this the other day because I was so excited. I had a post go viral there, and it was literally just, this is what Bookish Flights is. If this is, you're welcome to the community. And I had 350 podcast downloads that day. So it directly translated to listeners. And
Yeah.
if you're a seasoned podcast host, you know that social media platforms do not always translate to listeners. It's trying to figure out how can I get people to move from Instagram or Facebook, wherever you're at, to the podcast platform, but it
Yeah.
literally translated right away. And so I would say go on Threads. It doesn't need to be beautifully curated reels or photos or content. It's almost like a stream of consciousness, which is great because you just can post your random thoughts. And I try to obviously make it bookish because that's my theme,
Right.
but it really worked and translated directly to having more podcast people join the podcast.
I love that try.
Great try. Yeah. And I won't lie, after Kara and I had talked about that day, I went back and I was like, yeah, she's right. There's definitely something there. So fantastic advice.
Yes.
Yay.
Fantastic. I'm so glad. And oh gosh, wait.
No,
But
another platform, but I can do it. Actually,
yeah.
I'm already on Threads. I just never post.
I know.
I'm a troller. I just
No,
troll.
I feel like the barrier to entry is pretty low, and it's also attached to Instagram. So if people follow you there, they might follow over on Instagram too.
Yes.
So it's got the
Yeah.
feed forward system.
Yeah.
I do. That's what I think I love about Threads. I know this conversation is not about Threads, guys, but look, I do love that bit of Threads is that you can build and take people over there. Yeah. Look, we just got Anna on Substack and she is an animal now. She is just pumping stuff out because she is a writer. Like her heart is about writing. So Anna's
only because I'm an avid reader, though, Kara. Seriously.
Yeah.
See, but it doesn't translate for me. I'm going to need to be inspired by you a little bit there.
Yeah. No. Yeah. This is the girl that's at the library every week and borrowing like 10 books. And then she reads them all before she has to return them.
Imagine that. I
Not
read
one
them
or two,
all.
guys. 10. She sent me a picture. And that's what happened. Okay, I know. I'll stop. Man.
But I just want to wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Selena has a library book that is so overdue. We're talking plus years. And she's afraid to enter the library because she hasn't returned it yet.
Okay, so let's elaborate also on that story, Kara. Look, yeah, Anna's right. I borrowed a book pre-COVID. That's how old it is.
I want to know what book this is.
She's got it
somewhere over there. It's in here.
I've even offered to return it for her.
Yes. Anna needed help to go to said library. We walked in, no problems. I was like, darn, I forgot to bring the book. As Anna is checking out her books, Anna says, don't you have books that are like 10 million years old and need to be returned? And I was like, look, I don't ever swear. But in my mind, I was like, the library popo is going to come out. I just know it. Do you know what I mean? Like this elite force of librarian security men or
Yeah.
women, people.
It's
We're
like a
gonna,
lights
they're like,
flashing. Overdue. Overdue.
what? And Anna starts laughing because she's up to code. You know what I mean? She has nothing to worry about, but her bestie's gonna get taken out of the library system and right next door to the jail. I just knew that was going to happen. And I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. It was like the
Yeah.
most awesome.
Bye.
Yeah. I see outside. And then I was like, war, bestie. We are in war.
It just
Yes.
that makes me laugh. The rest
Yeah.
of the story is, of course, now Selena refuses to go to the library with me, and that's
Never
Yeah.
my
again.
fault.
It kept her out.
She's traumatized. No, I'll go with anybody else except Anna Larson, guys.
There
Like,
you go.
that's what I've ditched out of my life, is going to the library with Anna. Kara, okay, if somebody got to this point and they're like, these ladies are just really upset about libraries and talking to each other, what is one takeaway you want somebody from this show to take away, like from the conversation we've had? If there's just one thing, what do you hope for them to take away?
Oh, there's so much we talked about, but I think
I know.
maybe just start having the conversation. Let's keep it really
Mhm.
simple. Start having the conversation with your community, with the people
Mhm.
around you, and just see if it's a conversation worth having more of.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a
Stop
lot.
making t-shirt things for us right now, Kara, because that's my favorite one.
I know we've got a live already for her.
I know.
Awesome.
How fun.
Really.
Before we close this, though, I do have one rogue question.
Yeah.
Kara, as the podcast host of Bookish Flights, tell us your top 3 books our audience should read. Your 3 favorite, any genre,
Okay.
whatever you want, drop them
Yeah.
for us today.
Okay. So first I'm going to have to go with The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I just reread it after 10 years and it still reigns supreme in my mind.
Yeah.
So it's a really good
good.
one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, which way could I take this? So I'm
know.
reading Theo of Golden right now by Alan Levy, which is like word of mouth bestseller. And it is fantastic. Do you want me to tell them about the book or just drop it? Just drop the titles.
Just drop the book.
Okay.
Add in our show notes for us.
Yeah, we're gonna
Okay.
add those
All
into our
right.
show notes for sure.
Woo, and then this is what I found. I have empathy for my guests because pairing a third book, like fitting only one more book into this.
Yeah, it's so sad.
I'm going to go
Oh,
with
there's
just
so
to bring
many.
you into a different genre and something that's really fun. Read anything by Catherine Center. She writes
Ooh.
rom-coms. She's actually from Texas. And she's
Okay.
fabulous. And she brings out a book every like May. So you could know that you have a summer
coming up.
read ready and waiting for you.
Okay.
I
I
love
love that. All right. Thank you for letting me go rogue and putting you on the spot with your top 3 favorite. This is the 15-ish minute business fix podcast Bookish Flights episode.
It is.
Thank you so
Kara.
much.
This is my goodbye because Anna always ends the show because I could just go on and say all these things. But Kara, thank you for saying yes to the invitation to come on. And I think you had such fabulous things. If people were to look for you or find you, how do you want them to connect with you past this podcast?
Yep. So I would say first and foremost, Instagram. It's at Bookish Flights, very simply. And then there's also my website, which is bookishflights.com.
Love it.
And your podcast. Hello.
Yes. Like anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the things. It's everywhere.
All the things. All the
That was
things.
obvious, but I'm like, we have to at least say it out loud. Okay. Kara, thank you so
Anna.
much for being on our show today. You have been a fabulous guest. We are so honored to call you not just guest, but friend. So thank you for being with us here today. For everyone else listening, make sure you head to annandselena.com/blog to grab the show notes for this show. Everything we've talked about that is linkable is going to be in those show notes to make it super easy for you. And also, so you don't have to retain anything in that brain, you can just simply go to our site and find it. And for our listening audience, thank you for being here with us today. Kara has been a fabulous guest, and we will see you on the next 15-ish minute business fix podcast. Keep, ditch, try.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Kara. Thanks, everybody.